to another iconic tune in the SEC, and that is Sandstorm in South
Oh, yeah.
Carolina. The place goes nuts every time that song. It's become one of the great traditions in SEC
Absolutely.
football. They are coming off a 5-7 season. Now that doesn't sound very good for most programs, but there were such high expectations to the point
Yep.
the feeling last year in Columbia was so good that Shane Beamer was trying to make the case for South Carolina to be part of the 12-team playoff,
Yep.
which, if they hadn't lost to two other SEC teams on the fence, Alabama and Ole Miss, you probably could have made a solid case that they
Absolutely.
belonged. But those losses really hurt them. A loss to LSU hurt them. So this year, as we go on and we look at uh, South Carolina, and I think I misspoke. They actually finished 9-3, not 5-7. So, South Carolina fans, if you're already having a coronary and saying, uh, using all kinds of descriptive adjectives for me right now,
Just
let me
don't put them
back
in
off.
writing.
I was wrong. I misspoke. South Carolina was 9-3. My goodness, what am I thinking? If they were 5-7, no one would be talking about the college playoff team. They were 9-3,
They
so
were.
their eighth 9 win in school history. So great
Yep.
job, great for South Carolina. The first since 2017.
Yep.
Shane Beamer is doing a good job in Columbia, and it starts with quarterback Lenoris Sellers. When you
Yeah.
look at this player's development at the quarterback position, where he started and how he
Mhm.
progressed throughout the season,
Mhm.
absolutely outstanding. And
Yep.
Darren, it seems that South Carolina will go as far as Lenoris Sellers can take them.
Yeah, absolutely correct. And uh, his trajectory or the team's trajectory, as you're saying, will completely and totally mirror his trajectory. And I mean, people are already talking about, is this guy going to be a first rounder next year? Is he finished at the end of this year? He's going to be a first rounder, maybe even first pick. I've heard people talking about everything from first pick to top 10. Any of those are absolutely fantastic. So let me go ahead and take my little bit of a fans aren't going to want to hear this, but it's a reality and we need to deal with it. Lenora Sellers is incredible. And thankfully, he is exceptionally talented and can carry this offense because our boy Shane Beamer has continued on his path of weird at best coordinator hires. all of South Carolina nation sat back and took a breath when Dow Loggins was given the App State head coaching job. I don't know. Anyway, we don't talk about App State. I'm not even going that. Wish them all well. I hope it's a great run at App State for Dow Loggins. Then Shane Beamer turns around and hires Mike Shula, almost said Mike Shula as the O coordinator because he was there as the offensive analyst, senior offensive analyst. And there's a lot of accurate conversation, I believe, in him developing Lenore Sellers, him having to do something to do that because in the professional ranks, he also developed Cam Newton. So, do those things correlate? Is there some accuracy there? I absolutely believe so. That being said, as he developed Cam Newton as a quarterback coach, his offensive coordinator schemes with a quarterback like Cam Newton only produced a 30-point average, 30 points per game average season once in 5 years. Every other year was 23 points or lower. That does not work and would not work on this level, but I think Lenore Sellers can overcome that. So there's a little bit of a dose of reality. I'm concerned about the O coordinator, but that is mixed with the reality or the optimism that Lenore Sellers can, in fact, overcome that and excel in this offense and help this offense rise above that typical 23, 24 point mark that a Mike Shula offense has had in the past.
Mike Shula is definitely a familiar name to anybody
Absolutely.
that's followed SEC football or the NFL. And maybe this was a hire that uh, Beamer was evidently, obviously, comfortable moving him into that role. Maybe
Right.
Sellers, uh, he's clicked with Sellers, and so there was a chemistry there, and they thought let's just continue this. We don't know, but as you
Right.
pointed out, Darren, it does come with the decision comes with a lot of questions that we're not going to get answers to until they start playing games and we see how
Until
this
it's going.
offense clicks.
Absolutely.
In
Absolutely.
addition to the change in offensive coordinator, Rocket Sanders is gone,
Hmm.
so they're looking for a replacement. Who's his back way last way? Attaway, was that the kid? Attaway.
Yes. Yep. That's it.
He comes back, and they've got some other guys in the mix. Um,
And I tell you, a big piece there is Rashul. I hope I'm saying that Faison from Utah State. He looks like in camp that he is going to be the dude. However, as mind blowing as this sentence is, there's still NCAA eligibility issues. I mean, are you serious, NCAA? They still don't know if he's going to be available for week one, which
really?
is just mind blowing to me. That's even
Mm.
a conversation in the world that exists today in NCAA in college football. Because I think he had 1,300 yards last year against Utah State. He's quick. He's got a great, from everything you see, can plant and change directions and do some things that can really be shifty on the field. So he looks like he would be a great answer, but they don't know if they're going to have him week one yet. And I can't imagine how frustrating that feels for the South Carolina staff to, in today's world with everything's going on, to be at this point and you still don't know if a guy is going to be eligible after a transfer. I mean, what an absolute joke by the NCAA.
You think there'd be a better way to do this?
It,
Uh,
exactly.
Speaking face on, rushed for over 1,100 yards, all Mountain West. So a great season, as you pointed out, Darren. But the rest of the offense, there's holes to fill. They've
Mhm.
got they got a great tight end that left, but they've got a kid from Kentucky, Dingle from Kentucky,
Yep.
Smith on the team to kind of fill that hole. And how about this in terms of the wide receiver room? They pulled in 5 4-star receivers. So they're going to be extremely young at wide receiver.
Mhm.
Uh, but with Lenora Sellers, is that going to be? What do you think about that, Darren? You have an experienced quarterback who performed at a high level last year.
Mhm.
He's surrounded by young, very talented, but young receivers. How do you see that playing out?
Well, and I think another piece of that wide receiver room is Nick Harbor, who is incredibly fast and can absolutely take the top off of a defense. He's a guy that was a 5-star high school recruit. That when people would talk about his football, him being recruited for football and signing with South Carolina, they would show his track and field videos. The dude is so ridiculously fast. So he brings a little bit of talent and some speed. I think that can help with these young guys because if he does enough, especially on the front end, if he does enough to take the top off of a defense, he'll become a focus, and that will allow Lenore Sellers to run around, do what he does, throw off the defense a little bit, get these younger guys in some underneath routes where they can cut up under the coverage and catch some balls at kind of a comfortable catching point, with clear lanes. I think all of that can really come together to help this team. Um, but that being said, that's a whole lot of ifs and maybes and should, and kind of the end of the day, you've got, yes, they're talented, but you got young guys sitting in that wide receiver room with really one notable leader to take over the leadership of that whole room. And that's tough. That's you have to see that develop quickly. And I don't know that we know the answer to that. It's going to be a very tough thing. It's going to be an important piece of it, and you just don't know how it's going to work out.
Speaking of important pieces, the offensive line struggled
Mm.
in a big way last year with run protection, pass protection, run blocking, I should say, pass protection. They they're better, or they improved with the run blocking. Pass protection still pretty weak. However, they returned 3 starters. I think they've got
Mhm.
3 guys coming in from the portal. I expect to see some improvement along the offensive line.
Yeah.
We Because Lenore Sellers is not going to be at, if he's scrambling for his life every game, this
Yeah.
is going to be a long season for Gamecock fans.
He is going to take, and yes, he is a freak size, what, 6'4", 240 or whatever. I mean, that's just not even a quarterback. That's ridiculous. That's how big he is. So yes, that helps, and that's a positive thing. But that being said, he's going to get out and scramble. There's going to be enough designed runs that he's going to take a beating downfield. It's just an inherent part of his game. What you can't have happen is for him to take a beating in the backfield. There can't be holes that the offensive line just lets guys come unblocked or get free and get him. That's what you can't have happen. I feel like there's a positive there, just like you said, that you've got these 3 returning guys that not only do they have the experience, but they've worked together before. You have that cohesion. And that's enormous when you're pass blocking, knowing what the other guy's thinking, knowing what the other guy's going to do, feeling confident in that. That's enormous in pass blocking. So hopefully that will be a positive for them.
On the defensive side of the ball, Clayton White continues to have a unit that's performing extremely well. If you look at top 25 defensive statistics, you're going to see South
Mm-hmm.
Carolina up there, that unit from
Yep.
last year. Uh, they lose an incredible defensive end in Kennard,
Absolutely.
but they've got Dylan Stewart filling in there, and you've got Brian Thomas, and they lose some interior linemen as well. Linebackers, they got to replace
Yeah.
all of them. So when you look at this defense, and I'm looking at the secondary, and oh goodness, they lose they. And we can say this about every team, but it seems that these losses are more glaring when it comes to South Carolina. Are they going to be able to fill all these holes, Darren? And what part of the defense do you feel the most confident in for South Carolina?
I, I think the D line is what stands out to me. Yes, they have to do some replacements, but there's not a scenario that exists where you can say the linebacker core is anything but a concern, just strictly because of experience and what you're having to do. And so I feel like the defensive line is going to be kind of the strength and maybe the anchor, especially when you talk about Dylan Stewart and what he's able to do on the edge at defensive end. But to me, this is the big piece of the puzzle because when you look at the 9-3 season that they had last year, they are this thin of a line from being 11-1. They are also this thin of a line from being 7-5. And yes, Lenore Sellers helps those margins. He gives you a bump in those margins, but whatever bump he gives, your lack of experience, which leads to a lack of cohesion and scheme, regardless of who it is, on the defensive side, can shrink those margins and make them razor thin again. And to me, that's the biggest. That's going to be the difference between a team that stays at 9 or steps it up or has a disappointing 7-5 year. I think it's going to sit, unfortunately, in the lap of this defense and what they can do with SEC offenses.
And that line is sometimes faded. You're so close to
Right.
being great or to being
Yeah.
having a disastrous season.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about South Carolina's schedule. They don't start off with an easy opponent. It's an out of conference opponent, but they've got Virginia Tech.
Yep.
They've got Vanderbilt at home. They've got Kentucky at home. Then they go to Baton Rouge. Good news is they have Oklahoma and Alabama at home. They've got to go to Oxford to play Ole Miss. They've got to go to College Station, and they get Clemson at home. So, again, I feel like a broken record, Darren. We look at these schedules and we're like, oh, that's a tough schedule.
Yep. But the thing about it is, you're right, because they have a pretty good run of home games. Of course, you have that standout game they got to go to Baton Rouge. Baton Rouge, that's going to be difficult. But I just don't. I'm I think their schedule adds to the concern. Truthfully, I think you have every right, because if there's one thing you can know for sure, a Shane Beamer team can come out of nowhere when everybody says this is not going to happen, this is not going to look this way. And let's go back to last year. Kentucky's going to destroy you. Oops. I mean, a Shane Beamer team can come out of nowhere and say, we'll take those 9 wins. Thank you very much. You should be talking about us for the playoffs. So I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be a 6 or 7 win team and you're going to be horribly disappointed. But I think that's when you look at the defensive struggles that are possible and this schedule, even with the home games, you're still not talking about easy teams coming to rolling into play. They're going to be difficult. So uh, I think that just adds to the intrigue of what's this team going to look like? What's 5 weeks in? What are we talking about with this South Carolina team? And I think there are a whole lot of question marks that a fan base, of course, is going to be definitive. But outside of a fan base, I think there's some question marks that people can't answer.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be consistency has been an issue, I think,
Yep.
in the last few years. I
Absolutely.
like the job that Beamer has done.
Yep.
In order to reach the next level, you've got to play more consistently, and that's going to be, I think, South Carolina's biggest challenge.
Agree completely. That's well said.